What's up guys, in today's video I'll be breaking down the differences between Melting Point and the new Shattering Strike on the new Night Stalker subclass for Hunter, and explaining the differences between the two and when to use one over the other. So to start off, they are both debuffs. So if you don't know what a debuff is compared to a buff, for example, something like kill clip, where when you shoot someone, get a kill, then you reload, then you get kill clip, which then increases the damage of that weapon by 50% for X amount of time, is what you call a buff. It's buffing that single weapon's damage, and that's it. Then on the other hand, something like a debuff is when you apply ability to an enemy and it weakens that enemy to everyone's attacks for X amount of time. For example, something like tractor cannon, you tractor cannon an enemy, then anyone can shoot at that enemy and get that same 50% buff if they're using a void weapon for X amount of time. So the difference between a buff and a debuff in this game is a buff only affects you and that individual gun or whatever you're using. Then a debuff weakens the enemy to all kinds of sources of damage, not only including you. So both of these abilities are debuffs in the game, and currently no debuffs stack, so you can't use both at the same time. So we're gonna have to figure out which one's better than the other in certain situations, and overall give our verdict of which one is better. So let's begin first with the setup of the two abilities. Melting Point is very easy. After sprinting, all you have to do is melee and go into a shoulder charge animation, which then weakens the enemy. Now for a Shattering Strike, the setup is a little bit more complicated. What you have to do is get a flawless execution, which is when you're crouched, you have to get a precision kill, which then makes you go invis and give you true sight. So as you see here, go ahead and crouch, get a precision kill, and now I have this flawless execution for 10 seconds, and I can see through walls, and I'm also invisible. Then the second I do something, I go out of invisibility. So once again, running it back, get a crouch precision kill, then I can go melee veins and apply the buff, as you see right there. Now let's break down the damage of the two buffs and compare them there, now that we know how they work. So first with Sleeper with no buff at all, I hit 10,470. Now with Melting Point, which is a 50% buff, we already know this, I hit 15,704. Now with the Shattering Strike, getting precision crouch kill, apply the buff, and once again I hit 15,704. So they are both 50% buffs, which is good. So no differences so far. Now let's compare how long they last. First with Melting Point, go ahead and apply it. And I'm kind of going off both the visual and the damage numbers. It lasts roughly 6 seconds on the dot. Now with the Shattering Strike, once again, go invisible, apply the melee, and start the timer. This one lasts for 6 seconds also, so once again, no difference yet. Now, this is when I was testing to make sure that they don't stack, which I was pretty sure they didn't because they're both debuffs. So I have one of my friends, Melting Point, one of my friends do the Shattering Strike, and as you see right here, once I hit a crit, I hit the 15,704 number, so obviously they do not stack. I only got one of the 50% buffs. But this is when it gets good. With Shattering Strike, you can melee as many times and as many enemies as you want within the 10 seconds, and as you see, I apply the buff to all 3 of those enemies, and they're also suppressed while the buff is on them, which is very, very cool. So what you can do is actually maximize the time of the buff by meleeing the same enemy over and over again every 6 seconds, and you can actually make this buff last for 15 seconds if you use it correctly. Then not only that, you can use this buff whenever you want because you don't need your melee charge like Melting Point. Once you use Melting Point, you're done. But with this, for example, once you run out, you can just crouch, get another precision kill as long as there's an enemy nearby, and use it again. So it's basically an infinite Melting Point as long as there's an enemy nearby that you can kill. And it can combo pretty cool with a lot of different things. For example, even in solo play right there with the EP shotgun, I can get the 50% buff plus Trench Barrel very easily, and it works very, very well. So overall, with Shattering Strike, there's a lot more things you can do, and the skill gap is much higher with the ability compared to Melting Point. But Melting Point is very consistent and very easy to use, so that 50% buff from Melting Point that's very reliable won't go anywhere. It will still be used in a lot of scenarios. For example, some strikes and some raids, you don't really have the ability to get a crouch precision kill whenever you want, so a Melting Point which only requires a wind up will be more reliable in that scenario. But in a lot of things, for example strikes and EP, blind well, all these things, even Gambit, the Shattering Strike will shine in those activities where it's very easy to get the crouch precision kill because there's enemies all over the place. And in those scenarios, you can make the buff last for 15 plus seconds, and you can do it whenever you want because you don't need any ability charge like you do Melting Point. Melting Point you can only use when you have your melee charge. This you can use whenever you want and use it as much as you want and apply it to multiple enemies, apply it multiple times to the same enemy. There's just so many options with this ability, and overall I think it truly is a much better ability overall. After making this video, I'm actually super excited to unlock this subclass and actually start using it a lot, because for even in Gambit, for example, I think this will be the meta pick in Gambit once everything settles down in a few weeks, because I mean you can use this thing literally constantly, and in round 2 and 3 of Gambit a lot of majors start popping up for the ad clear, and also all the majors on the boss and all those things. One last thing about this ability is it's not like you're really going out of your way wasting time getting flawless execution procced, because it kind of helps you anyways, because you get the invisibility and then you also can see through walls and the enemy's models through walls and whatnot. Like, that's all really good information and stuff to have anyways. Then on top of all that, you also get the melee debuff that you can apply to enemies. So all around, they did a really good job with this subclass. It's kind of like half support, half like aggressive. I don't know how to explain it, but I think they did really good with this subclass, and things like this need to be seen more often. It kind of reminds me of Devour, where the subclass just works really well together. But anyways, the rest of the video is just going to be the rest of the Strike gameplay. I've been doing this a lot recently, where I put all the information at the beginning of the video, all like the breakdown and whatnot, then towards the end of the video I just run gameplay, because I know some people like just the information, so I put that all at the beginning real quick. Then I know some people also like, you know, just general gameplay, so I put that at the end, so I have a little bit of both in my videos. But anyways, that's gonna be it for the actual video. Let me know if you have this subclass or what you think about it. Anyways, thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.
Energy is spiking. This is it. taken compromised a Red Legionary. It would explain how organized they've been. Without Oryx, I didn't think they could still, well, take.